Hello everyone, and welcome back to a Medieval, where today we're going to do episode 6, the Arcane Expanse. An absolutely gorgeous view to start with. Cool looking lanterns that we have seen through the portal. You can destroy them if you so desire, but there is 68 things to destroy in this level, and quite frankly, I'm not too bothered, so we're just gonna leave them alone and let them create their cool lighting patterns instead. As we grab Volt Ride and move on. Very cool looking aesthetic going on here, and we find our first enemy, which is the mage. There is going to be a lot of mages in this chapter. When you attack these, they roll away, which is a little bit tedious. There is the cool looking bugs, which right now we're just gonna take care of with our axe. Some snakes that shoot an acid attack, and that more or less sums up the things that we're going to be fighting here today. One more here. The axe again works quite well, kind of. It doesn't work, I feel, as well as in the previous chapters, but that's just because this chapter is just a little bit more difficult, really. But since our soul power has run out, we can go back a little bit. There was a big orange mana there, and one thing that complements that quite well is the second secret area, which has the Celestial Claw inside it, and that's also going to be quite useful. I'd say almost every weapon has some kind of use in this episode for sure, but the axe is certainly going to be used a lot, at least by me. I find it works reasonably well if you move correctly. Against the snakes, as long as there's just one, it doesn't really matter, but against these hopping bugs, it can be a little dangerous for sure, and they can hurt quite a lot. But if you circle around them, they often don't even attack you. Over here is the Azure Orb though, and that is just a lovely thing to have. We might not use it too much in this particular level, but sometimes it's just nice to hold things. Take the elevator up here, and then we're going to ignore enemies for a little bit as we grab our ribbons. This is also a weapon that's going to see a lot of use in this particular episode because there's just a lot of purple mana to go around. Pressing the switch opens the door, and shooting once after opening the door is just a great way of dealing with almost everyone in the room, so no worries there. The axe works kind of against these wizards unless they get an attack off, because they shoot several projectiles, and if you get hit by all of them, which often happens when you're close to them, it becomes a bit more dangerous for sure. Grab the silver key, and after doing so, a new enemy type, a different type of mage, one that shoots planets at us, just like we've been shooting planets at people. Also one that hasn't noticed us, apparently. The axe, again, works reasonably. As long as you can just sort of suck them to you, then you can deal decent damage to them. And I'm also just going to grab that orange mana right there in case we need it. There we go. But we were mostly there for the silver key. Now that we got that, we can grab this legendary soul, and we can start blasting because there is a couple of enemies up here now. We can also grab this health because my health is running a little low. There's going to be a couple of these bugs waiting for us. Might be one more here. It looked like it, but I guess not. Oh, hey, there you are. And maybe we can kill a few more enemies over there. Well, at least one. That's not too bad, I suppose. And a new enemy type. It is a mage with a Star of Torment, and that is about as bad as you can probably imagine. The Star of Torment, very good weapon when I have it. Still a very good weapon when they have it, so it's certainly a force to be reckoned with, I would say. But as long as we don't take too many hits up close, then they're not too bad. Watch as they roll away after they get hit once, and then just shoot them again afterwards. And then your ranged weapons will work just fine. Very nice. Now there was a health pickup behind us as we were flying through this particular section. And at this point I would like to have it. I unfortunately got stuck on something, and then my jump didn't go so good. So unfortunately we're just going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. Which is... we're just gonna walk back into the glowy sprites and try it again, because even my rocket jumping shenaniganry is just not feeling it today, so we're just gonna play this a little bit more carefully. But the nice thing about a full health pickup is that it compensates for whatever mistakes you have made in the past. No concerns at all. And with that, we can move on further, where some more enemies will be awaiting us here. If you're lucky, you can get these enemies to just fall off, because there is a bunch of cliffs here that the rocket launcher will occasionally be good enough at. There we go. Kind of like that. To have them just fly into the pits and they'll be dead. Let's see, make sure that they're all dead. I think there's still one alive, but he's not interested in moving. Maybe I'm just seeing this lamp. That's actually more likely what's happening here. Anyway, jump down, grab the invisibility. That's in a secret area as well. And invisibility is quite good against a lot of these enemies because they die quite quickly to the axe. And as such, they'll generally not get an attack off before we have destroyed them, which is wonderful. Grab the health pickups right here. Lower the elevator slowly but surely. There's a full green mana right there, which can be quite nice. And let's just use the sword against this mage right here. You can use the rocket launcher against them as well, but it has a tendency to knock them back in a rather awkward manner, and I don't love it. Kill these. It takes 3 shots from the Celestial Claw to kill these enemies as well, which is terrifying, honestly. But as long as you can keep them away from you and shoot plenty of rockets into their faces, then there is no concern at all. And that is how we are going to live our lives. Now, let's grab all of this. I'm trying to keep my health high right now because there is going to be an optional secret message in this level, and I would like to have as much health for it as possible, so we're playing it a little bit more careful than usual. And there is a new enemy type here. It is the Big Wizard, and I don't have purple mana, which I was trying to use a whole bunch there, which is unfortunate because it makes this room a lot easier, but that's fine, I suppose. We'll just have to do this the old-fashioned way and actually hit our shots. We have to make sure we still have some orange mana at the end of this room. But other than that, we're probably going to be okay. There's some purple mana here anyway, so we can actually just use that. Because this enemy has so much health that one shot of the purple weapon is not going to be enough. You can quite often stun them like this though, and it makes them a little bit less dangerous. And also you can just axe them, because as long as you're moving, they don't really do that much, so not that big of a fear. But we got the Star of Torment now, which is nice. We're just going to shoot one of these into the room. Because there is a decent chunk of enemies, and then also there's just quite a lot of purple mana to go around in this whole episode, so not particularly concerned about running out at any stage. If we go over here, we can grab another medium one, I think, which is like 2 shots or something like that, which is pretty good. We're just going to ignore all of these projectiles flying in our direction, and eventually, hopefully we're going to get a whole bunch of them like this. There we go. I think there's still a mage alive probably, but that's okay. As you can see, this is working fairly effectively. And then finally, one more big wizard, but I think we can probably just take care of him with the axe at this point, after shooting him 3 times with our strong weapons. And just like that, everything's okay again. There is a mana boost right there, which is nice, but I did mention that there was going to be a optional secret message, and I would like to make a start at going there. It is there, I believe, and I think this is probably the best direction to go into to try and reach that. It requires some kind of specific rocket jumps. If you go all the way to the top, then you need to sort of awkwardly jump around some pedestals, which isn't great, but if you go like this, then there's these ceilings, which is also not great. So you have to do this in a kind of particular way, but it will eventually take you to this message, which doesn't increase your message stat at all. There's only one, but this is the other one. The text just says you good, and if you get close, there's nothing here, but hey, you tried, and indeed. That's exactly what we did. That's the only thing up there. There's really no purpose of doing that, but it's fun, you know, so might as well have some fun to go along with it. We can press this switch to open our way back again. There's a whole bunch of enemies right there. I think there's usually a mage here, but he might have actually died to that purple attack as well, so that's good. We can grab some of these souls to probably get soul power. We're getting pretty darn close. There we go. Very nice. Yeah, you can go back here if you so desire, but I have no real reason to go back beyond this That's why I was so low on purple mana, because I forgot to pick up that medium one, and now we have 14 shots remaining. If we didn't get soul power, then we could have gotten it here as well. So don't really need that legendary soul, fortunately, but if everything just goes horribly wrong, then at least we have an option there, I suppose. But the sword works very well against these enemies, as you can see here. It is destroying basically everything that's coming across our path here. And with that destruction dealt, we can more or less deal with everything else in the level with the ribbons here, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're just going to shoot whatever comes our way with these wonderful pink beams. Get a non-secret full health, which is a little bit out of the way. Whole bunch of wizards and a whole bunch of death in behind us as we move on to try and open this golden key door. Bunch of snakes? Nope. It's such a cool weapon, and we really get to overuse it here. There's a whole bunch of these bugs in this particular cave section. Just a couple of shots and that will generally get the job done quite well, and I'll just grab the X for the remaining ones. In this cave section, you have to press a couple of buttons to make your way back up again. But there is also a golden key to acquire when we take this elevator up. There we go. So that's that. Now we can open the golden key door. There's going to be a few more enemies here, but again, we still have 8 shots remaining, and there is 2 enemies left at this point. So quite frankly, we're probably going to be okay. The enemy that is remaining though, or the 2 enemies rather, is an enemy type that we have not yet seen before. It is the Cat Rider, and they're kind of unusual. If you kill them with a black hole, they only count as 1 kill, and I suspect you can double kill them in a way that doesn't involve the black hole, because occasionally I have an extra kill in this level that I can't explain, and quite frankly I don't know how to reproduce it. So there's something about the enemies here that allows you to double kill them, and more about that in the next level. But first, one more message. The Hexed passage lies below. There it is. We can shoot it, but that's where we're going. Love the aesthetics in this whole episode, but that is a good introduction to what we're going to be dealing with here today. So with that, we are going to episode 6, mission 2. The Hexed passage. We have a big platform over here, a hole that we can jump down, and then the exit right at the start over here. Now, in the previous level, I did mention that the black hole allows you to double kill enemies, but you don't necessarily need to. In this level, there is actually a missing enemy spawn. Like if you type the 8R cheat, you can see that there is 128 enemies in total of 133, but 5 of those are the Cat Riders, and they count as 2 enemies rather than 1, but they count as 1 spawn. So there's 128 enemies technically in total. But if we jump down here, it's going to spawn some stuff, and it lowers the amount to 127 instead, and 1 enemy is just missing. But you honestly might miss it because you might accidentally double kill an enemy, as I mentioned earlier. And it's very unusual. But we're gonna jump down here. I'm just gonna grab, just ignore all that and grab the Azure Orb right here, and then we are going to go back down and start fighting some enemies here. I just find having the Azure Orb makes this a little bit more doable, because it just gives you a little bit more ammo to work with, and quite frankly there's a lot of enemies at this particular starting section. Plus, going up the stairs, you can sort of get them to cooperate with you a little bit better in making sure they don't move in weird ways. Those snakes are like surprisingly difficult to hit at times, just due to their hitbox being mostly just their head. It's kind of unusual, and if you have played this game, then you can probably attest that they are surprisingly tricky to hit for sure. But fortunately, that all worked out. That was a big mess, and we can go here to get some of our health back. I don't know where that soul came from, but probably an enemy above us or something. And a large purple mana alongside a whole bunch of blue mana. All in all, just a great way to stock up on just about everything we have here. So let's grab all of these. Now there's two directions we can go into. I'm going here first because otherwise these enemies right here are just going to get very annoying in a little bit. It's nice to just get them out of the way, because in a while we will be going to that side of this golden key door, and if you don't kill them now, they're going to be trying to shoot through these gaps and failing the entire time, and you can't really attack them either, so it's just a lot of noise. So it's just nice to get these out of the way early doors. Moving on though, there is going to be a couple of enemies on top of these pedestal platform things. There is an invisibility power-up right there, which you can grab a little bit earlier. I'm actually going to wait until all the enemies in this room are dead, because I find it's very nice to have for the upcoming section. But with that, they're all dead. Normally, what you're supposed to do is you go through this, and then you sort of go on the outside of one of these wooden beams, and you'll be able to jump from there and jump all the way to that invisibility power-up right there. But if you go from here, you can do one slightly difficult jump to get it as well, and yeah, it's just nice because it means you don't aggro anything that's currently outside, and that means that you can do some invisibility shenanigans right here to destroy just a whole bunch of enemies without them really doing anything. The sword is right here, and we pick that up. And after grabbing all of that, we can go down and kill some more enemies here as well. You can see some of the bugs try to attack, but they generally fail when you're invisible and you're attacking them from anywhere that's just not directly in front of them. Like, you'll see them do their little attack animation, but that's all they're doing right now, which is really nice. Even when you're just slightly next to them, that's good enough to make sure that they're just wasting their time. You can jump down here for the golden key room, or silver key, a key room. I'm not sure which key actually. But we're gonna go in this direction instead, because there's still a bunch more enemies for us to deal with here. Just like in the previous episode, I will be using the black hole to double kill some enemies to make sure that we get that full kill count at the end. Even though it's technically not necessarily necessary, I just find it makes it a little bit more consistent for sure. This enemy in particular is fun because his attacks go above him, so because of that there's a decent chance you can just axe him to death without him really being able to do anything. Which does make life a little bit easier, because the actual attacks do deal a decent amount of damage, so it can be quite dangerous ultimately. Couple of wizards above us, but nothing that I'm too concerned about, as you can see. As long as you're moving away from the planets that they're shooting, they're not that big of a threat ultimately, so it's not too bad. Two secret areas here though. One is over here with a secret Aeternum, and the other one is up here with a whole bunch of tiny wooden planks that you can walk across. Occasionally you might hear enemies wake up as well. They're just somewhere. I honestly don't fully know where they are. But they're just somewhere in the level, and they'll just be awake. It doesn't really matter too much, fortunately. With this in hand, I'm going to run past the enemies and once again grab the planet weapon, and then we're going to try and destroy some of these enemies as they're getting dragged into the black hole, just like in the previous episode, to try and get those double kills, and it looks like we were successful there, which is very good. So our kill count should definitely be good now. I'll probably use the ADAR cheat at the end to make sure we've actually killed all the enemies, because there's a decent chance that we might just miss an enemy, but our kill count is now so ridiculously high that we're going to be way above the kills required ultimately. There is also a secret area in this room. If you jump up top of these balls, they are indestructible. They are pretty much the only indestructible balls in this whole episode, as you can see. But this one will take you a little upwards to a full health pickup. You can grab this now, and there's a later moment where it's also quite easy to grab, and it might be a little bit better later, but I kind of like getting it now just so I don't forget about it. Down the elevator into the golden key room that I mentioned earlier. There is that hole right there, as you can see, that you can jump down in the previous section, but I like killing all the enemies in the other section first, mostly also for the secret area and all the weapons and things. There is technically a puzzle here. If you press these buttons, then one of them will lower and the other two will make these other two platforms go up, and you can use that to get the golden key, but ultimately momentum still exists in this game, so you don't really need to worry about any of that. Let's just shoot a couple of these purple projectiles, because again, we're going to have a lot of purple mana in this episode, and I'm not particularly concerned about running out of mana for this weapon at all. The room they came from has a button that we can press to open up the door out of here. And also this place has a lot of enemies. There's going to be a whole bunch of those bugs up here as well. That was not a great shot, honestly. I'm actually just going to do another one. There is a full blue mana pickup directly below here, but you can die by falling into the pit over there, so I'd rather just not bother. There we go. Oh my god. Usually that enemy doesn't go down there, but today he's feeling a little different, I suppose. I don't really need the blue mana because, quite frankly, we're missing 3 mana, and even if we did need it, there is a mana boost in this secret area on the staircase as well, so there's really no real need to try and grab that from me. Now, we're back here. You may remember this place. That's where the golden key door is that we saw previously. There is now 2 wizards in this room, and we're just going to try and axe these a little bit, preferably one at a time. There we go, that's one, and the other is on the other side. Occasionally you can get some stuns off, and then you don't even need to move, as you can see right there. That worked out basically as I was explaining it, so that's nice. Also in this little hallway there is now 2 enemies, and it may seem like overuse to use the ribbons against these generic mages, but the fact of the matter is that they are quite dangerous ultimately. The ones with the Star of Torment are just horrible to fight up close. Also, secret area over here with a full orange mana and some health. But health-wise we're actually doing quite good, so I'm not particularly worried about that. There is another Eternum down here. There is also a new enemy type, which is the sharks above us in the water. The sharks are actually very tanky. For all the fish enemies that we've seen in the game so far, they are probably the more dangerous ones. They still don't deal that much damage, they just have a lot of health and they're huge. And they also swim quite quick, so ultimately it's certainly something you want to stay away from. You need like 3 planets to destroy them, and that can be rather tedious, so I do like using the ribbons for that as well. Especially in this section, because it's not like they can actually reach you when you're below them. They cannot leave the water, which is nice. And there's a couple of them here as well. But again, there is going to be some more purple mana here as well, making our purple mana effectively never run out, which is just a nice little treat ultimately. Now, this next section, there's going to be a lot of mages, and again, we are just going to be shooting a whole bunch of these. There's going to be some big mages in that distance, in that direction, I mean. We are getting a little bit low on purple mana, but still not overly concerned, honestly. I'm just going to do one more shot, I don't care. Ooh, but unfortunately, we got soul power there, which is slightly annoying. It's not like a particularly big deal, I suppose. Because this next section is going to have a legendary soul as well. It's just kind of a waste ultimately. You can do that entire section without it. A medium purple mana there, just in case you were running low on purple mana, you'll get some shots back again. We're back at 4 shots, which is wonderful. And some more riders in the distance. I would actually like to deal with those a little bit more effectively with the purple shots, and then we'll just do this. They will try to attack you from long ranges as well, and long distance they don't really do as much as your Star of Torment, really. I don't know, they're just not as accurate ultimately, which is surprising, but it is what it is. We are just going to jump down here though. There is a silver key all the way in the bottom, but when you grab the silver key there is going to be a bunch of mages shooting at you. One right there, one right there. I'd say a bunch, it's 2 mages. It's not really the biggest deal in the world, but still it's slightly scary, I suppose. But since we're down here, we can grab all the mana in the world. Ultimately, this is also a pretty good place to once again try that black hole trick to get some extra double kills, because there is just a section where it's very easy to get it to work. The place where I used it is not too terrible, but it can be a little fiddly if the enemies don't feel like cooperating with you. But right here, You can generally get a decent amount of kills off, and then ultimately just use a black hole like right here, and then just get a shot in there. Unfortunately, my son just ran out at the end there, but I'd say it worked out fairly well. We got an extra kill in there, I do believe. Just making sure that the wizards are dead, but I think they are. That snake that we are hearing is above us, which is fine. So we're just going to crawl our way back up to that snake and attack it with our axe. Now, ordinarily, I would say I have a little bit more purple mana, but I have been messing around with it a little bit more than ordinarily, so kind of a shame because I do like having purple mana for the next fight. But that's fine, hopefully. We'll see if it ends up being my demise, and if so, then that's the end of this video, I suppose. But right here, there is just a bunch of these wizards, and you can just shoot once and they'll all be dead. But again, we can also just shoot a large quantity of planets in their direction, and quite frankly, it's a fairly effective way of dealing with most problems. There is a big mage above us though, so be slightly careful of that. But beyond that, I'm not particularly concerned. There is, I guess the next fight as well. There's going to be one more fight after this where, again, would have been nice to have some purple mana at least. But it's all good. I'm sure it's fine. We have 136 out of 133 kills, which is as expected, I suppose, given that I tried several times to double our kill count wherever possible. And when we jump out of the water, there is going to be some enemies here, which, yeah, let's actually grab the Celestial Claw here and see if we can get them to fly away a little bit. Ooh, this is actually a surprisingly tricky fight when you can't just destroy all the enemies in one shot. But we did it. Everyone's dead. If we type the ADAR cheat, it says 0 unspawn and 0 spawn enemies. So we did actually kill everyone. And some we killed multiple times. And when we press this switch, we can exit the level. Now, the thing about putting the start of the level next to the exit is that you always have to be a little careful that you can't just leave the level prematurely. And this is unfortunately a level where you could technically just skip past everything. Because if you get under here and then just crawl through one of the seams, then you can actually just leave the level a little earlier. It's just a nice little thing you can do. You can beat the level in like 8 seconds technically, but realistically in like 20 seconds if you haven't really tried it before. And it's a decent way to get the achievement for not getting any kills in the level, so that's nice. Either way, that is episode 6 mission 2. We will now be going to episode 6 mission 3. The Circle, and this is quite the level as well. We start off with a sword, and with that sword we are expected to fight 2 enemies. Both are the cat riders. They have a lot of health, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get in our cool little water bubble and we're just gonna hang out here for a second. And what generally happens if we do this is that one of those will most likely try to get where we are. I'm just wiggling back and forth here a little bit. I don't think they're cooperating today, which is unfortunate. So it means we're gonna have to move a little bit more than I would like. But you can get them to fall down there. So that's one of them dead. And if we can get the same thing to happen with the second one here, that would be lovely, because we really don't have the firepower to be dealing with an enemy like this. But they very frequently do just try to do something like that, and then they'll be dead, and then we don't have to deal with them. Also, if we fall down there, we just get dragged back up again. So all in all, very much a fight that is in our favor. There is a legendary soul right there, which we're going to be saving for a little bit. There is some ammo for us to acquire as well. There is an azure orb in the middle of this platform. And again, since we will just go back up again if we fall down, not particularly concerned about falling down either. And with all this green mana that we have, we might as well try to fight some mages. Instantly switch to the other weapon. I don't know, I do like using the azure orb on these enemies because it is quite effective and it never really misses from this distance, so it does make any ranged attack fight just a little bit easier, I do find. Although the axe, quite frankly, will probably get the job done just as well. But we got through it. There is a couple of orange mana pickups here along with a Celestial Claw. I believe if you fall down here you do actually die, so don't. And when we press that switch, there is going to be some more mages for us to fight. There is going to be some buttons that we can press. And once we have dealt with this particular section, I will grab that legendary soul. But until that moment is here, we will just be shooting at these wizards from a distance with no soul power. Because I do quite like having soul power for this next section. It honestly does make life a lot easier to have soul power there. Open the door, grab that legendary soul, and we can start blasting with our powerful weaponry. Because there's a decent amount of these wizards here, along with some bigger ones as well. There's some of these jumping bugs, there is some of the Star of Torment enemies right there. As you can see, if we can get some of these shots to sort of bounce into that wizard, that would be lovely. There we go. Maybe we can get one more enemy killed. Nope, that's unfortunate, but it means we'll just have to shoot some rockets in the distance. And before you know it, it says overkill and everything's okay in the world. There went all of our orange mana. But that's fine. There is some big, or at least medium orange mana pickups right there. Very good. There is a secret area that I walked past. It's not particularly exciting, but it's here. You can either jump through this surprisingly non-solid window, or you can just walk around the building. It has some health inside it, which is quite nice to have, obviously. My green mana is running a little low, so let's get a little bit of that as well. And with that, we can move on to the rest of the level, where some more enemies will be awaiting us. But fortunately, we have planets to shoot, and it does work reasonably, as long as you watch out for the pools of acid that are getting shot in your direction. That's really the main danger of these snakes, that they can shoot one of those acid pools and you don't notice them, because they do still deal a decent amount of damage. You really don't want to take damage from anything in this episode, because the moment you do, it does go rather quick, so do be careful with that. But before you know it, come on, we can deal with these enemies with our newly acquired Star of Torment. And before you know it, everything here is gone. And our health is a little bit lower than I would like, but again, there is also just a bunch of health pickups right here. And to make the next section a little bit easier, there is a secret area here with an invisibility power-up, which once again makes the axe quite promising, because there is a lot of these mages, and generally they don't attack you if you attack them from the side with the axe. Sometimes they do though, and that can be annoying, but we do have a decent amount of health at this point, so it's not exactly the end of the world. This entire section is just filled with these mages as well, so it's really nice to be able to just destroy these. The purple mana right there is a secret area, so keep that one in mind, because it's otherwise quite easy to miss. And we might be able to start attacking one more big mage with our axe over here if we're quick enough. Not quite. In that case, we're walking back again, because there is a lot of danger over there. My frame rate seems to be going down a little bit. I might have to restart the game here if this keeps happening. I've had this happen once. I'm not exactly sure why it happens in this level, but we'll see what happens here. We're just going to deal with these enemies first, and then we're going to move on and hope that the frame rate decides to stabilize. There is a legendary soul waiting for us over here. Another secret area for us to grab. And let's go further into the level here. A couple more of these enemies, but they are easily dealt with our soul power. This is such a good soul power when you need to deal with enemies that are slightly further away than you would like. There we go. Means you don't have to aim, because it is very good at homing attacks ultimately. And that is just wonderful. There we go. Now there is a couple of snakes here, but nothing to be too scared of. There we go. And I think after this section, I'm real quickly just going to restart the game to make sure that we can enjoy this next sequence with a frame rate that's good. Because the lower your frame rate is in this game, you do get kind of weird weapon slowdowns as well, and I can feel it happening here. So I will see you in just a moment. And just like that, the frame rate looks fine again, so we are just going to keep going. It's one of those things that does happen when you have been playing for a while, and it's easily fixed ultimately, so I'm not too bothered about it. Couple of big fish over here, as you can see. Even the Star of Torment has a little bit of difficulty killing these quickly. But we do still have our planets, and there's only one more of these fish sections ultimately to deal with. And that means there is no concern there at all. With those destroyed, we can get out of the water here. Apparently there's still one left. He's trying. But I don't... Oh well, it's an impressive jump that he's doing, so I can't exactly complain too much. But it's an unusual situation for sure. Over here though, we do have our ribbons. We have some green mana. We don't have too much purple mana to work with, but we can swim up here. And there should be some purple mana in the water here. We can destroy a lot of enemies with 1 or 2 shots. A couple of these big wizards, which I do like to damage at least a little bit with that purple attack right there. And the rest we can probably just shoot some rockets at. There we go. And then the rest should be taken down with relative ease. I feel like maybe I didn't even hit that one, because 4 shots, that does still seem quite steep after already hitting them with the pink attack, but at the same time, they really do have a lot of health, so it's very possible ultimately. Some purple mana in the water there. I can still hear some snakes that occasionally get stuck in the sort of wall here, but no concern there at all. Hopefully we can spawn some enemies so we can use that purple destruction to its most potential, because it does make life a little bit easier when the enemies are dead. So far that seems to be working out. I'm not going to use a melee attack against that one because I will die. I've tried multiple times in the past, and quite frankly, never really works out. There is a secret area right here with some purple mana, which is very good. And with that, there is 2 keys to collect in this section, the golden key and the silver key, and we do need both to actually finish the level. So let's first go to the golden key section. There is going to be a couple of scary enemies and a couple of tanky ones, and the scary enemies are now dead, so just that one. Yeah, I guess you do actually need to shoot it 4 more times after a purple attack. That's actually just really tanky. But that's just the way it is, so fair enough, I suppose. When we press the switch, the golden thing opens, but then suddenly a bunch more enemies appear from behind the door, and the mage is also waiting for you in there. Again, it may seem like a waste to use purple mana on those enemies at a time when there's only 3 enemies left, but I genuinely do recommend it. It does work fairly well, and it keeps you alive, you know? So ultimately that's worth it to me. There is the golden key, and it takes you to this cool looking room where I don't actually mind using soul power, because there's a decent amount of those bugs and some snakes as well, and the sword is very capable of dealing with those. And it does mean we don't have to use our purple weapons, which is always a good time, and there's some purple mana for us to pick up afterwards here as well. All in all, pretty good deal. There's a big spinny thing here in the middle that doesn't damage you, so you can generally do some fun stuff by just jumping into it, because it will just make you fly. I think you can probably reach the keys just by riding that thing out correctly, but it's not exactly consistent, so I'm not going to try to bother with it too much. But it's a fun thing you can try to do, and that's nice. If you are going for all destructibles, keep in mind that there is a ball in this statue's hand that you also have to destroy. The rest is fairly self-explanatory, but that one is surprisingly missable if you are going for everything. And with that, we are just going to swim up, press the golden key switch, and then we have 1 more to go, as the switch says. So that's exactly what we're going to do. The second section, again, a lot of enemies, but also again, purple. Not a concern at all when you have the power of purple on your side. And that is exactly what we're going to use for basically all of the enemies here, because quite frankly, why not press a switch to create some more bubbles to swim through. It's an unusual spot for sure, but it looks visually appealing. Is that enemy dead or not? No. And that enemy was a different one than the one that just shot at me, and I don't really see him, which is... Oh, he's above us. There we go. That did a lot more damage than it realistically had any right to. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem. Let's continue swimming up here. Press the button. That will open the silver key section. I'm gonna look for some health actually, you know, because I would actually like to get out of this alive, and I'm not sure if there's actually any health over there. There might be some over here, but I'm genuinely not sure. Maybe not. We'll just have to play well. I mean, occasionally I do actually have to try, I suppose, and today is just going to be one of those days. It's just that I prefer not to, because this section can be a little spooky. There is a couple of scary enemies in this hallway. Each one of these things has some enemies behind it, and generally I do just like to wing it. But I suppose this will probably work just fine, provided I dodge the attacks at least a little bit and stay almost in melee range with the bugs, because then they won't do their jump attack, which is the main scary thing they can do, because it's very likely you're going to take damage if they jump towards you and you're not ready for it. But that worked out well enough. There is some health down here underneath the silver key, so that's nice. There should probably be some more enemies here now. Maybe a little bit further up ahead. In this section there's usually some snakes or something, yeah. Not particularly scary, but I would like to take care of them with ease. And there is some health to grab here as well, so we are actually kind of in a good spot again, I would say. Now if we try to press the silver key switch, as you can see there is a couple of these creatures now, so I would like to take care of those once again from a distance. We have a lot of orange mana to go around, so we might as well keep them at bay. There's Planet Earth to help us out a little bit more, very nice. Can we get soul power? One thing I also kind of forgot to show off is that from that section right there where we went up earlier, you can actually just jump to the exit if you so desire. You can just skip a whole section of the level, which is nice, but I don't want to. Unfortunately, can't use a black hole against these enemies because it means we won't get all the kills. But we can do something like this and that'll probably work just fine. There we go. And then technically we could use the black hole against these, but I'd rather not, I suppose. It's probably for the best that I don't try to bother with it too much if I can avoid it, just to make sure we don't accidentally get weird amounts of kills. I am feeling like there is still something alive, even though it says we got all the kills already, just because of how many suns we threw at those cats, but I think we're good. I will just check just to be sure that we didn't double kill anything weird, but it does seem like we got all the kills, we got all the secrets, and all 0 messages. So with that, we can leave the level. Oh, scary times that level, honestly. It can go very wrong if you're not careful, as you saw right there, but we got through that relatively fine. But with that, we can go to the boss of episode 6. The Unholy Sanctuary. Down here, the summoned ones await, and the text just says demon from hell over and over. So we're just going to leave that alone for a little bit, grab all of the weapons, grab the mana boost, and we're going to go look behind the exit right here. If you shoot that switch, you get teleported to a room with a full health pickup. And we're actually going to use our purple weapon against the boss for once, because against this boss it's actually kind of effective, whereas against most bosses it's not too interesting. But this one in particular, if we can find it, wherever it is, there they are. There's 2 bosses, and they are made out of a lot of sections, and you can hit all of them with a purple attack, and it does a decent amount of damage. And if you can get rid of at least a decent chunk of their health that way, it does make life a little bit easier. I don't really have a clear-cut strategy for this boss beyond try not to get hit too much and just try to focus one down at a time. There is some low gravity stuff going on over here in this fight, which does help you survive. You can go for soul power during this fight as well, because below us is a bunch of platforms, and each one of them has a soul power pickup, like just a giant soul or something like that. A huge soul, rather, just floating above it. And if you jump down, you'll generally just get dragged back up again to grab that as well. There we go. Just focusing down the blue one first for really no reason. We are taking a decent chunk of damage, but that's fine. There is a bunch of health in this level as well, but you won't be able to pick it up until we go under 100. So for now, it's not particularly meaningful, but we're dealing decent enough damage, I would say. And we're avoiding an amount of the attacks. So we're doing well enough, I would say. Oh boy, that could be a problem. But we're fine, we're good. The blue one is getting close to dead, which is good. The red one, not even remotely close, I would say, but they are being surprisingly good with their melee attacks today. Alright, blue one's dead, and that means we have a lot less to worry about. We can still take damage as we're floating down, so do be careful of that. My mana is running a little low, but I don't know what he's doing there. My mana is running a little low, but there is full mana pickups at the top of that water bubble that you can grab relatively easily. I've kind of lost them. Oh, there we go. I was shooting some projectiles rather than the actual boss. But there is full green mana there, and I believe a full... Did I get the full blue mana? I don't think I did. No, it's right there. But I think if we avoid the projectiles and mostly just shoot him when he's going towards us like that, we can just kind of focus on getting some health right now. And we should be relatively safe, provided I don't fall off of the level. Like, the projectiles are generally easy enough to dodge, I would say. Our health is looking acceptable. There is a full orange mana right there if you want to try to use orange mana against this boss, but quite frankly, I never have too much luck with it because it moves around a lot. But if you are close to it, it does become a little doable, I would say. Simply due to the fact that once you are slightly past the front of him, at least he'll be next to you for quite a while, and then you can generally get some shots off. And quite frankly, the Star of Torment is hitting him as well, and that's not exactly the quickest weapon in the world either. I kind of need him to like try and get close to me though, and he's not really working with me, but I think that'll do the trick, and before you know it, the boss will be dead. It's really just about staying alive, really. Beyond that, I don't know if there's like a better strategy for that, but I don't know if I've ever died to that boss, if I'm being honest. It's just a matter of shooting the boss a lot and trying to stay in the level. And if you can manage to do that, then there isn't really that much more boss left. So, yeah, it is what it is. It's an interesting boss, but fair enough, I suppose. We got the golden key so we can open up the portal to leave this place. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Thus concluding episode 6. And with that, we can go back to the gateway.
The evil has found us, champion. You must hurry!
We must hurry. There is now whatever this is going on. And when we go towards it...
Now go! Destroy the evil at its source!
Yeah. That's exactly what we're going to do next time, because that is the final episode in the game. So I hope you all enjoyed it so far. Next time when we play, we will be playing through episode 7, The Void, and I hope to see you all there. Bye-bye.